reality is you're coming up against a team that have won majors, you're coming up against a team that have won, you know, at least individuals that have won world championships. You've got serious players on the other team to be going up against here, and it is not going to be easy. That much is for sure. But Knights, on the flip side of that, can play with a certain freedom, I think, from that, because there's no expectation on them, realistically. They just come in here and click some heads. Like, it literally is as simple as that.
If you are not particularly familiar with Knights, they are a largely Argentinian team. They got a Paraguayan on the squad as well. That is BLK Deuce. They've changed their names up a little bit. Two of them have thrown Deuce in. You got Jerry and you got BLK, Atlas, Tuku, and Tom. Tom will be an easy one to remember.
Yeah, that's quite a familiar one. It's almost the same as mine, you might say.
Tim Tom.
Thompson.
How do you feel about Tim Tams?
Do you know what? I've never had a Tim Tam.
All right. Is it too late to get Des in here?
As a Canadian, I am out.
Oh my. Operator bands rolling in on Nighthaven Labs. Dokkaebi and Azami banned out by DarkZero. And we literally just changed screens as I was about to read the Knights bands, which are, of course, Ying and Valkyrie. Prevalence for Ying as an operator is through the roof. Was the most banned attacker in every single region, competing with both Monty and Dokkaebi, one of whom is banned. As you can see, the Dokkaebi has been removed. I am curious if we will see that other third operator I mentioned, which is Montaigne. And I say this because across almost every single region, Monty is a very strong operator on certain parts of this map. You think taking Garage. You think taking towards Exo, going down into Exo. You think taking Catwalk upstairs in Garage. Very similar to the way that exact same looking part of Clubhouse tends to unfold. If you haven't noticed, they look almost identical. Anyway, that was to the chat, not to you. You can ignore that if you'd like.
You know, yeah, as you say, you know, an operator like Monty, anywhere that you can push into the face of attackers without worrying what's behind you too much, you know, is always going to be a power position for him. But we're not going to see any Monty to kick off with. We are going to see a very big switch up in the attacker lineup there, and it's going to be a kitchen defense to kick us off. We've got the Grim. Grim, of course, seeing a lot more playtime recently since the canisters have been changed. They now bounce. Just a little bit more sort of flexibility in their positioning. We've got Finker, we've seen a little bit of today. Brava. Capitao as well. Capitao, I think, I want to almost say underrated for the longest time. Like, so much utility in the hands of Capitao. And a quick operator as well, people tend to forget. So, yeah, coming along, and there's going to be immediate pressure going towards that hatch. That's going to lead down into the small sort of offshoot room at the side of Kitchen. Kitchen window itself has been opened up. You have to be opening up those angles because there's no verticality available into Kitchen. The rest of the site, absolutely. Get into meeting above, rip it all up. They've got the book. You can get plenty of verticals, but not into Kitchen, so you've got to work those other angles as well.
It looks like the only player that was remotely close to knocking on the door was the Brava of Atlas upstairs. Capitao's an interesting one to talk about because as you see from this Knights lineup, they are absent a traditional hard breacher, but they've got 4 of those secondary hard breach gadgets, 2 of course in the hands of Grim, 2 in the hands of Jerry's Capitao. And I find it interesting the way that teams want to go about these maps. If you don't want to run an ace, or, you know, if one of the hard breachers ends up banned, then you're going to see a Ying get brought out with those hard breaches. You're going to see a Buck potentially get brought. In this case, they're bringing out a Grim and a Capitao with the secondary hard breach and immediately going to work to open up those panels as Atlas surveys the destruction that Jerry has done.
The Book just taking a little bit of vertical damage there. As I said, these vertical angles are key into this site because there's a lot of little boost spots, and we can see there's a, you know, deployable shield in there as well. You're just going to try and keep yourself safe in and around those half walls. You can really keep yourself sort of bunkered down as defenders. So these vertical angles, as you can see, just systematically being opened up there to prevent those power positions being held. And it's kind of doing its job at the minute, but it's not allowing Knights to push forward too aggressively yet. As I say that though, Jerry goes in and they start getting cut down. Gavaney and Canadian managed to find one apiece there, 4 versus 2 with 45 seconds left to go. DarkZero almost in complete control of site. They've lost a little bit over by the breach, but otherwise sitting pretty.
Yeah, you get the Yokai Sprouted effect as well, and I don't know if there's any tools to flush these players out. You've got information. You got secondary gadgets. Huge round from NJR. Rice clicks that very final pick. And I really liked what Knights did to start. They put pressure onto those walls, open them up immediately. It's going to give you some discomfort as a defender. Can't play as aggressively towards the bomb chassis. And you get a little bit restless. I was a little surprised when we saw the overhead view early on that there was very little extension of that defense upstairs into the conference area over top of Kitchen. You hit on it very early that you need to get that soft destruction in to open up those sight lines into Kitchen. But DZ, they knew better than I did, obviously. But they didn't extend upwards. They just hunkered down in the bomb site. They held the peripheries. And they effectively forced Knights to have to rush through windows and single narrow doorways in very favorable engagements for DZ who had tons of information. And as you just saw in that very first kill, Canadian goes undroned. He's on his yokai. I believe it was the Grim, walks right past him. Doesn't even see him. Canadian pops up, gets the pick. He's used the yokais to disorient and gain information. As much as I want to praise DarkZero, a bit of sloppiness on the entry drone work from Knights.
Yeah, I think the phrase that I would use there is maybe a bit of a British phrase for you, but it's welcome to big school. You know,
walk me through that.
It's basically you've gone to high school, you've gone to secondary school, and it's a bit of a different ball game from, you know, what we would call primary school, elementary school. You know, you're going in with the big kids now.
You want to quote a movie?
Go.
Welcome to the show.
Exactly.
And
I think that's the case for Knights now. It's going to be about learning quickly and learning those lessons, like you say, using those drones effectively, making sure you know exactly what you're going into. This time, Jerry is going to bring along that Monty that we spoke about. That might help that a little bit because they can go in with that little bit of safety, but they need to be careful that he's not overexposing that backside, as we've discussed in the previous game where we saw that being done. So just need to be careful, again, that they know exactly what that Monty's pushing into before they do, because it'll be a big loss if he moves through a doorway and there's somebody just sat behind him.
It might seem like quite a bit excessive to have so many hard breachers on the side of Knights, but when you're attacking this basement bomb site, there are three things that you absolutely must get open. Number one are those panels down below. They're easy to Kaid trick, they're easy to bandit trick, and if you're not bringing a Thatcher or a Maverick or something to get rid of even mutes, you can find yourself having a great degree of difficulty opening that up. Another one is that closet upstairs. It's already been opened. It's not unusual to see defenders extend all the way through all three floors of this map. And then the other are the hatches. As you can see, Tuco just droned out one of them, and he knows that they got to get control of that. That's exactly where I imagine the Buck is going to go, because he's got those two can openers in back pocket, unless Knights decide to just pressure the site and not open everything up, which is also a viable strategy.
Absolutely, and I mean, getting spotted out on the default cam there, DZ are going to know that there's a push coming down those rear stairs. Meanwhile, Tuku's just working in from the vending machines there. He knows that there is a presence in that mid-floor. He's sort of trying to track him down, but the attackers have got to take the initiative here, and Tuku's going to get himself one there, almost certainly. He manages to pick up Rice as he comes around the corner, and that leaves them now a 5 versus 3, and Knights really fighting for this. Tom picks up Pamba, and all of a sudden we could be staring down the barrel of a flawless round. Gavini makes sure that that's not going to happen. Nitro does not connect, gets 2 out of 5 that he's going to need, but a lot of work still to be done, especially with a Monty up against him as well. This is almost certainly done and dusted as Knights have managed to secure that plant. The information is coming in, and surely it's a matter of time until the mirror gets picked up.
That one's effectively
there. It is.
Maybe a bit too looseness from DarkZero on their roam, and not exactly the greatest wherewithal as to where the entry points were coming from Knights. Once they got in over top of the hatch, they get control of the hallway. They immediately set up on those exo stairs. And you've got a Monty, so you got a couple options to deal with that Monty. Number one, bring a smoke. DZ did that. Number two, bring Goo-Mites. Didn't see a Legion on the board that time. They have to go back to the operator lineup. But they've got nitro cells and they've got those gas canisters. Problem is you need to live to the end of the round for that to happen. And from where Knights seemed to enter, I didn't see the black mirrors from Mira being particularly effective. Now, I want to give credit to Knights for that. Just as we kind of gave them a wag of the finger in round number one, round number two here, seeing where those black mirrors are and completely bypassing that, sweeping through a part of this bomb site where you know the mirror is not going to be able to see you, that is excellent.
And despite the fact that you got a Solus on the board, despite the fact that you've got these Black Mirrors on the board, it seemed like DZ's big deficit that round was information. Nice took advantage of it. They capitalized. They get the plant down, and dislodging a Monty in a post-plant, very challenging to do.
Yeah, I mean, it was so obvious. The two deaths that came in the mid-floor, both of the DZ players up there just basically had absolutely no idea. You know, they ran past people, they were shot in the back. It was, the castle got picked up there as well. It was just too easy for Knights. So, like you said, DarkZero just needing to be a little bit more cautious potentially about that information. And saying that, we've got Canadian on the pulse. You know, that's going to give them a lot more of an idea. I would expect to see Canadian just playing, you know, in and around site, looking to feed as much information as possible into the rest of his team about where these pushers are coming from, using that heartbeat sensor just to pick up on any of the Knights players that are getting aggressive. They're going to be opening up that basement to begin with, looking to just get themselves inside of the map. And once again, the opening kill goes in that direction. And speaking about information, Parker, who is it that goes down? It's Canadian on the pulse. Great start for Knights.
I believe we have to call him comedian when he dies on pulse in the first 30 seconds of action. But yeah, I mean, again, you're going to bring information operators for DarkZero. You're not going to bring a Valkyrie. She's banned out. So what are your options? You've got bulletproof cameras. You got a pulse. You got Maestro. You got Solus. These are the operators that are going to do much of the heavy lifting. If you're Canadian, how are you playing so aggressively on this map that you're dying so early? Well, part of me thinks that it's DZ not respecting Knights. If you think they're a younger team, a less experienced team, maybe you're going to want to get real cute. Sure, go ahead. By the way, that was BLK getting into the site and getting swatted away at right away. Atlas gets a little bit too close as well. And suddenly, DarkZero made up for the fact they've lost Canadian early.
Yeah, I think what we're going to start seeing from DarkZero, as you say there, maybe in those first couple of rounds, yeah, I don't know if I'd call it bravado or just, you know, a willingness to go in there. Yeah, we can run around a bit. Yeah, we can take those fights.
Might I pose a word? Can we agree upon this? Hubris.
Hubris. We certainly can.
Absolutely.
I think, yeah, just a little bit of a willingness to sort of play into that experience and ability that they're confident that they've got. But I think, you know, after that round from Knights, maybe DarkZero just settle down a bit and think, you know, we need to just make sure that we're getting a job done here. And it is, you know, they've got the experience on side to know that that's something that they need to be doing. So 3 versus 4 now after 2 kills in the mid round from DarkZero. And as you can see, they're not getting sort of trigger happy here. They're not looking for those fights specifically. They're happy to hold their angles. They know the attackers have got to do the job. They're going to let that 6th man, the clock, you know, do its job for them and try to just burn down as many seconds as they can. They don't need to push into anybody.
Well, there's a heavy reluctance to go on to drones for Knights at the moment, right? You saw that Jerry was posted up in garage, literally right next to the door of the bomb site. Now, yeah, he doesn't have access to the diffuser. Tuku did. But why are you not droning this out? Why are you not gaining information? It leaves Tom as the last man standing, and what realistically should be a fairer fight for you. You're in a 3v4 with 4 drones still up. Nobody is going on to those information gatherers. Nobody is determining where DZ is. It's not like you've surrendered the diffuser and you need to go pick it up and you're worried about where they may be. No, you've got the diffuser. Yep. You are inches away from the bomb site. I have to use inches because we're in America. That's all they understand. So I don't know why Knights was not exactly eager to go back onto their drones with over a minute to go, but it dooms them because they have no information. They walk into one of those dread mines, they get nearsighted, they gain information, DarkZero pounces upon it.
I'm not going to mention measurements as a Brit. We get a lot of stick for that. We just use everything, Parker. Yep. We just use everything. Weight, depends what you're weighing. Distance, depends where you're going.
It's the same with us.
We just use whatever we feel fits.
Yeah.
So inches, yeah, we use them.
Mm-hmm.
Meters.
You're walking? Yeah, it's a few feet down the road. Oh,
Meters.
It's just a couple of...
We use that too.
You know. Yeah, it's
whatever we want.
100 meters down the road. We don't use miles.
We use miles. Yeah, we use miles.
Yeah?
Yeah, we love a mile.
Yeah, that's your main unit of measurement or speed.
Yeah, for distance and speed, it's mostly miles. For heights, it would, yeah, it'd be feet and inches.
That's what we use as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But then for a lot of other distances, it would be meters. You know, if you're measuring up for some furniture or something, yeah, you'd generally measure in sort of millimeters to meters.
Look at us, Bond. Look at us.
Who would have thought
We are
it?
so similar.
Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought?
Let's get into round.
Don't even, I want to say before I move on, you also have the most cursed unit of, I guess, like, possible, which is stone.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was going to be stone.
What is stone?
Pounds and stones for weight.
Yeah, I'm about.
But only
I'm
as an
six,
individual.
I'm about 6 stone. What does that mean?
What? It's only for personal weight though. So
if I said I was 6 stone, how much do I weigh?
Not very much.
Oh.
6 stone's pretty light. So I'm like 10 stone, 5 pounds.
Okay.
I don't know. I think that's about 70 kilos, I think. But the funny thing is, as soon as we go to weigh in food, for example, grams and kilograms, obviously.
Unbelievable.
Weigh a person, stones and pounds. Don't come to me with kilograms. Because that's ridiculous. I'll have no idea what you mean.
How many? I remember Milos is on. He's on his like fitness journey, and shout out to him who's co-streaming right now with Fabian. He's like, oh, I've dropped like 15 kilos, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means.
I don't know. I couldn't even picture that. And
they're losing their minds next door.
I think we're limited to about 2 or 3 kilos for food, and that's it. Yeah. So we're going to be trying to soften up this top layer once again. Knights have got the book in there. It is going to be a kitchen site. We saw last time DarkZero able to hold on from just completely inside of sight. They didn't really need to challenge up on this top floor. I want to see Knights making use of that vertical superiority a little bit more. But DarkZero, to be, give credit to them, they're just really not giving much of an opportunity. They're not exposing themselves to those angles. It's allowing BLK to move in on the knock though. He knows that there's a man inside a kitchen. He's got to get this kill. Comes around the corner. The diffuser's going down at the same time. Absolutely free. Manages to get a second onto Gavani. Canadian picks one up along the way though that stops the plant. 2 versus 3. And that Alder, it just keeps on going, Parker.
Unbelievable with 40 seconds left. Pambazoo still searching for his very first kill. BLK, could he be recovered? Jerry's gonna try, but Canadian has sights on it. It's all up to Tom. He walks in, assessing one. A lot of damage to Pambazoo with the super shorty out. Not much left on Canadian. He's got a good read on him, though. 20 seconds left. Both very limited HP. Diffuser not in their control, so it's a gunfight that Tom will want. He'll pick it up and attempt behind the shield. Canadian, no way to stop this. He'll have to take the engagement himself. Looking for the ace. He's got the read and the circle around. No! The ace denied by Tom! Knights win the round.
So close, Canadian there. We saw what he was going for. Just hold left, mouse 1. He's got the Alder, he's got the magazine. He was just gonna fire into oblivion there. But somehow Tom manages to stand up, take the peek into the hail of bullets, and come away with the kill. Fantastic from Knights to level things up. Closer than maybe it should have been after that great double to kick things off from the knock. But DarkZero, they're certainly being left scratching their heads at this point, and there's questions to answer.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's ever a team that can go to a new map, it's DarkZero to test out the limits of your newest entry to the map pool. Nighthaven Labs has been DZ's playground time and time again. They were the first team in NA to go here, if memory serves correct. And now here we are, very first day of play-ins. DZ and Knights find themselves in the same situation that every other team that we've seen on both the A stream and the B stream so far have been in, which is if you lose, you go to a best of 3.
Yep.
And if you lose that, you go home.
2 losses, you're done.
There is a possibility DarkZero goes home today if they lose to Knights and then lose their best of 3. So they know what's at stake.
I just love that from Tom, like the nerve. Let's not forget, he's in behind an Ossa shield. He can wait for his moment. And as he ADS's, you can just hear ting, 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 all the bullets raining around him from that Alder. He can see it's Maestro he's up against, so he knows he's going to have a wait for Canadian to stop firing at him. But still, he just pops up and absolutely destroys him. What a great finish from Knights there. Certainly playing with some confidence. They are here to get a job done, and at 2-2, they are on the road to potentially doing this. I think DarkZero are going to be realizing right about now that I'm sure they'll have given respect to this team coming into it, but maybe this is a little bit more of a game than they thought it might be.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously just going off of the eye test, this should be a favorable map to the defense.
Yeah.
The fact that Knights through 4 rounds have already won 2 is excellent because that's usually where you want to be when you're an attacker on a defender-sided map.
Yep.
The magic number is 2 rounds. You lose as an attacker 2-4, that's fine. You make up for it on the second half. Maybe you beat it and you win in regulation if you're the better team, etc. So DZ struggling. And, you know, you go back to round number 2, the basement bomb site. Knights absolutely pummeled them. There was really no hope for DZ there. But that last round was very winnable for DarkZero. Very, very winnable. And then it's a 3-1 ball game, completely changing the calculus of this match.
That's the sort of round that you're potentially going to look back on. And yes, it was a mammoth effort from Canadian, picking up kills all over the place. But forget about all that stuff. It comes down to a 1v1 at the end, and he's just absolutely raining bullets in with the Auda. If DarkZero don't come away with a win here, it's going to be rounds like that that they look back to and think, you know, that's really something that we should probably have been winning at that point. You know, that's the point where you sort of start kicking yourself a little bit. So DarkZero, they're going to want to get at least the last 2 rounds here on defense, I think, as you say, Knights. They're going to be happy even with a 2-4 split likely, but they're going to be looking at this thinking, you know, there's more in this for us, and that's the problem for DarkZero for me. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking from DarkZero's perspective, you've got to think about not letting Knights get overconfident. The more rounds they win, the bolder they will get, and the tougher this matchup is going to become for you. And, you know, let's imagine this, Parker. At the beginning of the day, people will have looked at these groups, and let's be honest, they will have looked and thought, DarkZero and G2 both win, and we're going to have a Knights and Fury playoff to see who goes home.
Yep.
Think of a world where I don't know what's happening on the other stream,
right?
But we could be in a position where, who knows, we have a DarkZero G2 playoff for who goes home. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could.
Wouldn't be the first heartbreak for G2.
Certainly wouldn't be at all.
If you haven't watched League of Legends, you might not catch that reference. But
no, I do know what happened. I don't watch a lot, but I do know what happened.
So 2 things to note as the execute could happen in just a moment's notice. Number 1, Pambazoo, star player for DarkZero, has been held off the score sheet so far through 4 rounds. But Knights also have that. You know, Jerry doesn't have a kill yet. Atlas, I believe, had at least 1 kill before getting back into the server. So you've got 2 teams with players that have yet to really warm up. But for DZ, Pambazoo is the player who you expect to be leading your team in kills. There's depth on DarkZero's side. If NJR's doing well, that's fine. You've also got Gavin too. Well, you did until BLK decided to go bananas on entry. He's been excellent so far, by the way. You saw the Nook play that won them, inarguably won them the round. Excellent play by him. You get in, get the kill, get out. 30 seconds left. All hell is about to break loose.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to an absolute bloodbath here. We've got Atlas just poised, watching in through that triple wall. Diffuser is going to be going down just inside. Same spot as they used last time around on this site, and they are going to get it done. It's going to stick. Rice manages to level things up with a kill onto Tuku, but again, it's that man on the Finker, picking up another important kill. 4 versus 2. He keeps stacking them up and knocking them down. 3 versus 1. Diffuser down, all up to Pamba, the man that you just mentioned hasn't had a kill yet. He's managed to find his first, but he's going to have to find another 3 in about 15 seconds if he wants to close this round out. Beautiful second to pick up his man there. 1 versus 2 though. He's going to have to start playing on this Diffuser. Surely he can't stick this.
Oh my, no. How close are they? He gets away with it. Excuse me? How are there 2 of you still alive and you let him do that? Pambazoo somehow sits on that case for 7 seconds and gets the counter disable.
BLK has every right to be a little bit upset there. Not only does he do the work in terms of killing, he puts the Diffuser down as well. He does almost everything in that round, but protect the Diffuser at the end. And Pamba getting away with that long arm from inside of the door is, I'll be honest, a mistake that could well come back to bite Knights hard, because this is not going to be an easy game to win. If they get the win against DarkZero, it's likely to be, you know, by a slim margin. So individual rounds are going to be super, super important and heavy-weighted here, and Knights just giving one away there that they will know should have been theirs.
Defenders have disabled the bomb diffuser.
Let's go! Well, I mean, you call him out and he shows up humongous. Oh, don't say that. I will say, if the last round was heartbreak for DZ, that round that just transpired, heartbreak for Knights.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Such as the duality of Rainbow Six, where it gives and it takes away so quickly and so harshly. DarkZero get around that they probably shouldn't have won. after losing a round they maybe shouldn't have lost. And now we find ourselves in a very prime position, Tim, where it could very easily go 3-3. Neither team gets closer to a finish, and then we just go to the second half and wonder, is it a defender-sided match? Is it an attacker-favored match?
Well, I mean, looking at Pamba as well, so I was going to make this point before he won the round. Very rudely interrupted me by winning the round. Pamba picks up Here
he comes.
Pamba picks up Tom. And that's what I was going to say. Sometimes, you know, thinking to EUL particularly, you know, Shaiko, we quite often see this from him, where he'll just be super quiet in a half, and all he needs is to switch sides and get onto the attack or get onto the defense, and all of a sudden you just see a completely different player, and you know, you get Shaiko coming into the second half with 3 kills, you get Shaiko going out of the game with 18 kills, and all of a sudden BDS have just dominated. And I'm sort of wondering if we're going to see the same from Pamba. He's got himself a few kills here towards the end of the half, and then maybe just explodes on the attack and creates that space, gets those entries, and Knights are going to be left sort of wondering what's hit them. They're going to be punch drunk after he's got activated, so we'll see whether that continues. But you can just see now with his little jiggle peaks, he's certainly starting to feel himself, I think, a little bit, and that's a dangerous thing. Knights need to make sure that they're finding him, isolating him, and shutting him down.
Well, he wasted a lot of time, and by falling off that top floor, you're gambling that with half the round to go, Knights are not going to re-drone this. They don't have a lot of drones left. Only 3 drones remaining, it looks like. But guess who retook the top floor? Gavin did. So now you've got another defender up there that you might not necessarily know about. And if Gavin can make it over towards this garage area where you see right now, the bulk of Knights players are assembling, Gavin can do some serious damage. Canadian's gonna read on into the buck, take out Tuku from down below. The lead for DarkZero grows as the time continues to work against Knights, but hold on a moment here. Atlas, amidst the smoke, getting it down. Canadian kills him from below. Take a deep breath, DarkZero. They're looking for a flawless finish to this first half. They're not going to get it as BLKO duels Canadian and can now attempt to plant himself, which he will do before getting slaughtered by Gavin. Question mark, who returns to the bomb site. Last one left is Jerry.
They're just on all sides of them at the minute, DarkZero. This is so oppressive. They're above, they're below, they're everywhere that they turn, and Knights are surely going to be feeling that at the minute. There's absolutely no safe space for them inside of Nighthaven. Pamba, perfectly timed to move into the second half, finds himself that final kill, and may well just be coming online. Pulse play was fantastic from Canadian there. We saw him die in the first 30 seconds the first time he picked that operator up, but none of that this time. Gets himself an easy kill. It's back to that same problem for Knights, not understanding where Canadian was, not having that information as the Bucks coming in, who certainly would have been an important operator for them to have in that position to be able to open things up from underneath. But no, Canadian also then following up. Nitro gets the kill onto the man above, just using that information beautifully. DarkZero looking like they've just, for me, gone up a gear in that last round.
Well, I mean, I mentioned it when Gavin retook from above, right? It's that you look at the time, you look at how little drones Knights have remaining. You're not going to be able to dig yourself out of this with information. You're going to have to do it with gunfights and whatever utility you have at your disposal, which was already starting to dwindle for Knights after they lost those first 2 players. And then losing that buck, the way that they did to Canadian, it forces somebody else to possibly confront Canadian down below on that bottom floor, but also you lose a very important part of both above and below in your execute when it comes to destruction. You don't have that same verticality if a buck is off of the board. And when you're facing a minute left, you might be facing unfamiliar territory. You're going to have to rush. That's what Knights did. They rushed. And they lost.
Yeah.
And that really just comes down to the situation that they found themselves in because they didn't have enough information. I honestly think Solus was probably the big culprit for that. Knights are going to bring a Solus right off their very first round, so DZ might find themselves battling that same information game.
Certainly good. And as you've said, you know, you picked up on it at the beginning of the game, DarkZero, sometimes a little bit slow, methodical, not always the worst thing, but look at the lineup that they're playing into. There's a castle, there's a legion, there's plenty of things there to slow them down. We've got barbed wire, we've got prox alarms, we've got everything from Knights setting up to burn that clock down. So DarkZero need to be aware of that. They've still got 8 drones on the table, despite there being a Solus on the other side. So they're playing well with the information at the minute. What they need to do is use it decisively and be getting those kills and giving themselves the time that they're going to need in order to work towards that final execution.
Well, this lineup from Knights is very similar to what we saw from DarkZero. You know, these These operators have all been brought by DZ at some point or another. I like that we're seeing some of that utility / hard breach denial downstairs as well. I like that a Kaid is being brought. One of the defenses from DarkZero, when they defended EXO down on that very bottom floor, they decided to forego any type of breach denial. That was the round where Knights brought 3 different ways to get through a reinforcement. So I like what Knights is bringing. I understand why they're doing it. DarkZero are a team that definitely don't need any help to be slow. So if Knights are bringing things to slow you down, the work is cut out for DZ to have an acceptable pace, or else they'll fall behind, and the defenders will take advantage of that.
2 minutes gone now. Still 6 drones left available for DarkZero. You might hope for sort of slightly better on the side of Knights with the Solus on board. No kills to be found yet. Tuku just watching this angle through the hatch. Could be a tough one for DarkZero to fight against. I often sort of lean towards the side of the height advantage in Siege. If you've got somebody above fighting somebody below, quite often that does give a little bit of an advantage. Air jab goes out, but there we go. The angle was worth it. Tuku holds it for over a minute, but gets his reward as he takes the man down. Canadian manages to find Atlas. 4 versus 4, 30 seconds left to go, and just as we predicted, Parker, the time is starting to become a serious factor.
And there you go. Bryce getting picked off by Jerry, traded right back. DZ doing very well at trading blows. There's one for Pamba as well. Oh no, Tom! You can't miss those. You get out-dueled by Canadian. Tom just made Canadian look like Shaiko in that engagement. DZ finishes things off. They win the round. That's 5 for them, storming
like
their way to a win.
I'm like a fucking... Dude, I'm a phenom! They didn't think I was this good! They thought I was done!
Welcome back, Trey.
I'm still here!
Welcome
You
back.
can't get rid of me!
He's going
I'm not
nowhere.
fucking leaving!
And that is why I said that it just doesn't feel like a major without Troy. You know, these are the moments that he's given us across the years, and he's delivering more for us, so thank you for that.
Nice to see that his performance in-game is matching the ish talk out of the game.
100%.
So far, at least. Canadian is currently the top frag on his team. He had 9 kills at the conclusion of that round. We'll wait the scoreboard to see if he got 10 as he was storming in to get that diffuser down. And Knights calling a timeout as they find themselves on the ropes at the moment. Hard to diagnose this Knights squad because, A, no international experience. So we can't really talk about composure, can't really talk about their ability at an international stage, about how you settle things down. I think there was a point where I think it was Jerry was tucking his hair back or something like that. He looked like he was shaking. That's gonna happen to some of these teams,
it is.
right?
I mean, let's be honest. If I've no international experience, Parker, when it comes to playing. Right. If I go and sit down and I'm playing against,
I'm sorry, that's not true. You played at E3, if I remember correctly.
Did I play there? No, I didn't. Well, kind of. I didn't play in the show match.
But you played.
I was present.
At E3, that's international.
But yeah, if I or anybody else sits, I've in Siege terms, I've grown up watching players like Canadian. He's been there for so long. You sit down and all of a sudden his name pops up on the other side of the screen and you're fighting against him. That's going to have an impact. There's no 2 ways about it. Players who've reached this level of competition have also been sat watching Siege competition for years. They're no doubt fans as well as players, and so sitting down against a team like DarkZero with the names that you're going up against, of course you're going to be nervous. Just, this is probably years that you've put into your life to get to this point, and you stood on that stage. You're there. You're at the major. It's a big deal for these players. So, absolutely there's going to be some nerves in there. Completely forgivable.
The play-in scheduling is it's merciless.
Yeah.
You're in, and then you could be out. That's it. There are teams that might only play 3 maps and then get booked a ticket home. That's rough. That's really rough. And it's hard to gain a lot of experience from that as well. In the majors of old where there weren't the same play-in stage, and at least with groups, you typically would have a lot of games. You'd hear from regions, like at the time, Brazil used to say this a lot. Julia went on record for NIP saying that they learned more scrimming G2 at their peak at the Raleigh major than they did scrimming any other Brazilian teams. And a lot of the APAC teams will talk about this too, that direct exposure to other regions is something that they can bring back to their home region, and it will not just help them, but it will also help all the other teams. It's hard to do that when you might only be playing 3 maps. So you gotta learn quickly. The hope is that for some of these newer regions, at least they're scrimming quite regularly while at these events to try and gain as much information from parts of the world that they won't usually play against.
DarkZero certainly not taking the foot off the gas here, not making things any easier for Knights. Canadian this time is going to be bringing along the Monty, so less likely to be adding to that impressive kill total of 10, but certainly making life difficult for Knights here as he's just going to be bullying them, pushing in. We see the mirror window getting cleared out. He's just feeding information back into his team about these positions. They know that they've got one stuck hard left. It is going to be Tuku who's just down there in that position. Likely to have some difficulty just as active.
Apparently, you're having some problems. That's okay. Jerry is not long for this round, and the timeout from Knights has bought them more composure, I would say, Tim, as there's only 40 seconds left in the round, but they will stare down a deficit when it comes to man count. It is interesting to see Canadian on Monty, especially with how he's played, but Tuku, who'd been fleshed out earlier on, not much remains for him. Now it's BLK to take the engagement. Supernova to the chest. Tom is to fall as well. How debilitating a flawless round would be after you take your timeout, but that's exactly what happens. DZ on match point, 6-2.
I just get the feeling that as long as Knights were keeping level, we're going toe-to-toe, we're finding rounds, they could keep themselves in this. But once that starts to snowball against them and DarkZero are winning round, and it seems like they can't put a toe wrong, I just feel like the sort of weight of that mentally is becoming a lot for Knights to bear. And so it doesn't surprise me now to see them maybe sort of struggling and slipping out of this game with DarkZero now picking up a flawless, and they certainly are starting to find their pace here. You know, yes, they've come through into phase 1. DarkZero, a team that we might have expected to see with that direct entry into phase 2. They are certainly going to be one of the best teams, I would imagine, over the next couple of days. So, Knights, it's now or never. There's no mistakes left. You need to get this done or you go into a best of 3.
Certainly seems like that's on the board. This would be our 3rd match of the day. Obviously, I don't know what just happened on the other stream. Sandbox versus Crest are doing battle over there. I'm gesturing, but you, obviously, the viewer, are not capable of seeing us at the moment. I'm in a clown costume still.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
With the exception,
there's your proof.
with the exception of that stunner that we saw earlier today, it's been relatively quick games, even if some of them have been upsets.
Yeah, that's it. I think, you know, we had, like you said, the first match with a bit of overtime, but other than that, whether upset or not, it's not been sort of drastically long. And again, it's kind of what we expect from play-ins. I think, you know, you've got teams here who, as you say, you know, they're sort of coming in from different ends of the scale sometimes, and it is going to go one way or another. We're not always going to have those quick games. We're going to have the Flores of Rice just sending in those Roteros to clear out the castle barricades ahead and forge the path for DarkZero to get themselves on in here. Still 6 drones despite losing that one, so plenty of information at hand for them potentially. And ooh, again the Rotero drone just trying to target those castle barricades, but will not be successful that time as it gets shot out.
Honestly, if you're bringing in Flores and you know that it's going to be up against an explosive heavy defense, losing even 2 of those Rotero drones can completely undo whatever strategy you have. People might not think it's a huge deal, but it really can be. It can completely defang your strategy. It's the 3rd time as a charm onto that same window. It's the Castle of Tom that is chased off of this position. It was Tuku before, and now it's Canadian to flush him out of this spot. Atlas comes up for supporting fire, but can't do any real damage to the Monty. Half of the round gone, and DarkZero's presence felt on the first floor. They need to translate that to the basement.
Canadian having a little bit of luck there. He dropped his shield on the Monty to take out the default cam, but the information obviously fed in quickly to Atlas that there was a potential challenge available there to take the shield out of play, but he was unable to find his shots, and Canadian survived to fight another day. We're just going to have some vertical pressure now from Pamba as he continues to open up a few of those angles, just searching for anybody that he can inside of storage below, but he's not going to pick anybody up. Knights are doing themselves a good job here of keeping themselves off the radar.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing a really conservative, sheltered style of defense down below, but they're starting to get a bit more active. They've retaken that mid floor, which could confound DarkZero if they don't drone that out. I mean, DZ only have a single drone left. We harped on how Knights were often starved of information. It's very likely that DZ is going to be in that same spot, and now Gavin's a bit too slow, loses the duel, wins it, but gets downed all the same. Canadian with diffuser in hand, there goes BLK. A successful diffuse plant as Pamba is removed from action.
Pamba was it to close this one out last time around. Let's see if Knights can do the same in reverse. Atlas battling, trying to find anything that he can, but 3 versus 3 as the Nomad's taken down. However, DarkZero seem to have this in hand. 2 versus 2 though, as Knights, they're not ready to lose this one just yet, but with the Monty just backing himself up into a corner, Canadian knows exactly what is needed, will be dealt with. There's about 9 seconds. It's all going to come down to NJR. Will the cover be in place? He's going to have to find one. Cannot do it. Shots and miss. That's the one that he needed. There's not enough time, Parker, no matter what they do. NJR will close this out. DarkZero with an opening win in their first match of Phase 1.
Well, that was our fastest match so far of the day, Tim. 5 rounds in a row for DZ. As Captain Canada himself, very excited about that. You heard him talking earlier on, and well, the trash talk lived up to the result. And I hate to read into that last kill too much, but one thing suppressors do is they hide where your bullets are coming from.
They do.
And it seemed like there was some confusion as to where NJR was